Do you know what significant events have occurred on this day in world history? On December 14, 2012, the world was shocked by the tragedy at Sandy Hook Elementary School in Newtown, Connecticut. A gunman who entered the school building killed 26 people, 20 of whom were children between the ages of 6 and 7. It was one of the most shocking massacres in U.S. history, sparking a wave of public outrage and leading to a massive debate about gun control and school safety measures. In the wake of the tragedy, thousands of Americans called for stricter gun ownership laws. President Barack Obama, speaking after the incident, emphasized the need for urgent action to prevent similar incidents in the future. Years later, however, the gun control debate continues, and the Sandy Hook tragedy remains a painful issue for many. In addition, the tragedy has called into question the safety of schools, which are supposed to be places where children are well protected. Many schools have since implemented additional security measures, metal detectors, security guards, and strict attendance policies. But the basic question of how to prevent armed individuals from gaining access to school buildings is still relevant today. What measures do you think could help prevent similar tragedies in the future? In December, 557 powerful earthquake has fallen on Constantinople, the capital of the Byzantine Empire. This event has shaken the city not only literally, but also in a spiritual sense. In fact, one of the most significant destructions became a dome of the Cathedral of Hagia Sophia, the majestic symbol of Christianity and Byzantine architecture. The cathedral had been built only 2 decades earlier by order of Emperor Justinian the Great, and had already become an architectural marvel of its time. Its massive dome, which towered over the city, symbolized the strength of the empire and its spiritual heritage. When the dome collapsed due to an earthquake, it was a blow not only to the religious feelings of the inhabitants, but also to their confidence in the stability of the empire. The earthquake also destroyed many houses, walls, and public buildings, leaving thousands of people homeless. Emperor Justinian immediately ordered the rebuilding of Hagia Sophia, but it took years, and a new version of the dome was even higher and more resistant to earthquakes. This devastating earthquake went down in history as one of Byzantium's most significant natural disasters, and it became a symbol that even the greatest achievements can be vulnerable to the elements. On December 14, 1911, Norwegian explorer Roald Amundsen and his team made history by becoming the first humans to reach the South Pole. This momentous event was the result of years of preparation and courage in the face of the harsh conditions of Antarctica. The conquest of the pole became one of mankind's greatest victories in the struggle against nature and opened a new era of polar exploration. The road to success was not easy. Amundsen, before deciding to go to the South Pole, had participated in other polar expeditions for several years, including Arctic exploration. His experience and ability to work in extreme conditions were the key to success. Amundsen's team used specially trained dogs and sleds to navigate the icy wastes, giving them a significant advantage in speed and efficiency over Robert Scott's expedition, which arrived at the pole several weeks later. Amundsen's expedition not only cemented his name in history, but also showed the world that even the harshest and most inhospitable corners of the planet could be explored by man. This event paved the way for further polar exploration and played an important role in the development of science. What do you think motivates people to undertake such dangerous journeys, despite the risks and difficulties? On December 14, 1287, the Netherlands faced one of the worst natural disasters in its history, the flood known as St. Lucia. A violent storm coincided with a high tide that flooded large areas of land. Sandbars and coastal dunes could not withstand the tidal surge and were washed away. More than 50,000 people died and many villages were completely submerged. This flood was one of the largest recorded in the history of Europe and left a deep mark on the peoples who lived in these lands. Medieval Europe was vulnerable to the forces of nature, and the Netherlands had long been aware of the risk of flooding. However, until that tragic day, the system of defenses against water was underdeveloped. The flooding of St. Lucia was the impetus for the Netherlands to begin actively building dikes, canals, and drainage systems in the centuries that followed. This laid the foundation for the unique system of water protection that still exists today and is considered one of the most advanced in the world. If you like our video, give it a like and subscribe to our channel. We will keep you happy with other interesting videos. In 1947, in the midst of America's post-war boom, What we know today as NASCAR, National Association of Stock Car Auto Racing, was founded in Daytona Beach, Florida. It all started with a meeting of race team owners and mechanics to discuss the rules of racing, as motorsports in the U.S. was pretty chaotic at the time. William Bill France Sr., one of the main initiators of the organization, saw the potential in unifying auto racing and giving it official status. NASCAR was originally created to race cars that were available to the general public, the very same cars that could be seen on the streets. Over time, NASCAR became one of the largest sports organizations in America, attracting millions of fans and creating a new culture around motorsports. Racing on ovals, the unique atmosphere and the competitive spirit became the hallmark of the organization. Today, NASCAR is more than just racing. It's part of the American culture, where the passion for speed and the skill of the drivers draws spectators from around the world. What do you think has made NASCAR such a popular and unique form of motorsports? On December 14, 1782, the Montgolfier brothers, Joseph and Etienne, conducted the first successful test of an unmanned balloon. This event was the first step towards man's conquest of the skies. The French inventors used hot air to lift the balloon, opening new horizons for exploration and travel. The idea for a hot air balloon came to Joseph Montgolfier when he observed smoke rising from a campfire. The brothers conducted many experiments before they were able to create a balloon that flew almost 2.5 kilometers. This was the first successful flight, proving that man could use air to move objects in the sky. The success of the Montgolfier brothers inspired many other inventors, and a year later they sent their first passengers, animals, on a flight. Soon after, the first human flight in a hot air balloon took place. This event was a turning point in the history of aviation and led to the development of aerodynamics, which later led to the invention of airplanes. 15th of December. In 1488, the Portuguese navigator Bartolomeu Dias returned to his homeland after a voyage that was remarkable for its time. He became the first European to circumnavigate the Cape of Good Hope. This expedition was part of Portugal's massive effort to find a new sea route to India and the Orient. It was the first time that Europeans had come so close to the cherished goal of reaching the rich trade routes of Asia. Dias's voyage was far from easy. His ships, driven by unpredictable winds and violent storms, nearly crashed on rocky shores. But it was these dangerous waters that gave the cape its name, Cape of Storms, as Dias himself called it. Later, King Joan II renamed it the Cape of Good Hope, because passing through it meant that the way to the riches of India was almost open. Dias's success marked the beginning of a new era of European exploration and maritime discovery. Although he never reached India himself, his achievement inspired future explorers, such as Vasco da Gama, to continue the journey and complete the mission. On December 15, 1933, the 21st Amendment to the Constitution went into effect in the United States, repealing prohibition. This moment marked the end of one of the most controversial periods in American history. Since 1920, the production, sale, and transportation of alcohol had been banned nationwide. Instead of healing the nation, prohibition led to the flourishing of organized crime and underground businesses. Against the backdrop of the economic difficulties of the Great Depression, American society increasingly asked the question, is it not time to end prohibition? Indeed, by 1933, the authorities recognized that a total ban on alcohol was doing more harm than good. After the amendment was signed into law, celebrations were held across the country, and legal beverages began flowing back into bars and restaurants. This moment was a milestone in the history of American society, demonstrating that prohibition does not always solve social problems. The repeal of prohibition also allowed the government to control alcohol and add new taxes to the budget. Do you think prohibition had positive aspects, or was it a mistake? Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, not to miss interesting stories from the world of history and politics. In December 1941, the German army committed one of the most brutal crimes of the Holocaust, the mass murder of Jews at Drabitsky Yar near Kharkov. More than 15,000 Jews were brutally shot by the Nazis and their collaborators in the cold winter woods. This event came to symbolize the horrors of the Nazi regime and is inextricably linked with the tragic fate of the Jewish people during World War II. When Kharkov was occupied by German troops, thousands of Jews found themselves in ghettos. They were brutally deported to Drabitsky Yar, where they were mercilessly killed regardless of age, sex, or health. This place, like many others throughout Europe, is a testament to the extreme human evil and madness that accompanied the Holocaust. Today, Drobicky Yar is a place of remembrance where people pay tribute to the victims of this tragedy. It is important to remember and talk about such events so that they never happen again. After 11 years of restoration, the famous Leaning Tower of Pisa reopened its doors to tourists in 2001. This unique architectural landmark, which attracts millions of people from all over the world, is known for its unusual inclination, which has become its trademark. But few people know that the tower was in danger of collapsing and that serious efforts were needed to save it. The tower's tilt, which began during its construction in the 12th century, gradually increased, causing serious concerns about its safety. In the early 1990s, engineers decided to close the tower to the public and begin extensive strengthening work. Several innovative techniques were developed to stabilize the structure, including removing the soil beneath the tower and installing counterweights. As a result, the Leaning Tower of Pisa retained its inclination, but became more stable. Today, it still amazes and inspires people from all over the world and remains a symbol of engineering excellence and cultural heritage. Do you think the tower should have stayed leaning, or would it have been better to level it completely? Friends, if you liked our video, put a like, subscribe to the channel to learn about many significant historical events.